So we're going to talk about the pros and cons of each of the mid-sized trucks out there for off-roading use. So we're going to talk about the Jeep Gladiator, the Ford Ranger, the Toyota Tacoma, and the Chevy Colorado. What all the pros and cons are on each one. So let's get started on the Jeep Gladiator. The pros on the Gladiator, the approach angle. It's the best in class for approach angle. Great approach angle. Departure angle, they're all for them the same pretty much on the departure angles. It's a truck, so you're going to not get the greatest departure angles. The pros on the Jeep Gladiator are the tire size. You can put 35-inch tires on these without a problem. They're really easy to put a big tire on this truck without putting a lot of money in it. So you can buy the Jeep Gladiator Sport model and do a couple minor modifications and put 35-inch tires on it. So that's a huge plus. Limitations on the Gladiator, the breakover angle. You're never gonna fix that breakover angle. It is what it is. It's 20 degrees breakover angle, so that's a really bad breakover angle, and that's because it's practically a foot longer wheelbase than the other trucks in its class. So that's a pretty big disadvantage for this truck, but the tire size, being able to put a big tire size on this truck without having a lot of costs involved, is a huge benefit. So like I said, these are the pros and cons of each type. Ford Ranger. So the new Ford Ranger, we don't have all the specs out for it yet, but because it's built off of the Ford Bronco platform, we do have a lot of information on it. The front end, for example, the Ford Bronco Sasquatch, you can put 35-inch tires on that truck. And because this is built off the same exact platform, you should be able to put 35-inch tires on this too. The back, I'm a little concerned about because this truck, they made it for, doing truck things, hauling drywall, plywood. So they increased the wheel well area in the bed. And doing so, you are pushing those wheel wells out towards the tires. So they do show that you have a 33-inch tire can fit on this truck, but I'm a little concerned about putting 35-inch tires on this truck. The width of a 35-inch tire is going to be wider, and I'm going to say you can, but you may have to put a little more cost, like you may have to get different rims and stuff to put those bigger tires on this truck. But we'll see when we start getting them out. The wheelbase is, a decent length, so it has a decent breakover angle. The approach angles are not as great. A plus, though, is the CV axle angles are really good on the Ford Ranger. So that's a big plus because you don't want these trucks to have an extreme angle on those CV axles, because chances are you're going to put a 2-inch lift on this thing, and which is going to make those angles even worse. So you don't want to start off with a bad situation with a bad CV angle. Chevy Colorado ZR2. So like the other ones, like the Ford Ranger, has a decent breakover angle. Approach angle is decent. It's not as good as the Gladiator. Putting a 35-inch tire on it is going to take some work. A lot of costs involved to put a 35-inch tire on this, so that is a negative. The CV angles on the front of the ZR2, they're at an extreme angle already. So that's a pretty big negative, because when you put a 2-inch lift on this thing or a 3-inch lift, those angles are going to be really extreme. And that's bad because you could, going off-roading, you could pop a CV joint out. So that is a pretty big con for this truck. Everything else is really good. Like I said, the ZR2, good driving truck, good running truck. That CV axle in the front is my only concern. New Toyota Tacoma. We don't have a lot of information out on it yet, but the main things that had the problem with the old Toyota Tacoma were it costs a lot of money to put a 35-inch tire on these. So I think, as you can see the circled red area, we'll see for sure when they release it. But I think they followed what the Bronco did and made a removable wheel well splash guard. If they actually did that, then we're going to be able to put a 35-inch tire on this truck. That was the biggest drawback for me. It costs a lot of money to put a 35-inch tire on the old Tacoma. So if they fix that, that is a huge, huge benefit for this truck. But we'll see when it finally gets released. Everything else of the Tacoma was really good. It has a decent approach angle, a great breakover angle, and the departure angle. They're all the same on the departure angle. They're a truck. They're not the greatest departure angle. But like I said, if they fix that wheel well issue with being able to put 35-inch tires on it, that is the biggest thing that Toyota could ever do. We're just going to real quickly go over CV axle angles. So here's an axle, and you can see it's at a pretty decent angle. This is very typical of what the Chevy Colorado comes factory at this angle, and because of that, you're already at a pretty significant bind. You put another 2-3 inches of lift on this, and you're going to put it at more bind. So we don't want to see an angle like this before we even do a lift on it. It's just going to put pressure on those CV axles, and there's a good chance you're going to pop one. Here's the Chevy Colorado, the true Chevy Colorado, what the angles are, and you can see with the red lines what angle we're already at. And here's my Toyota Tacoma, and you can see there's a little bit of an angle on there, but I already added a 2-inch lift to this. By factory, this thing was straight out. So even with a 2-inch lift, I'm not getting any significant angle on this CV axle joint. So I'm not going to, unless I really beat the heck out of this truck, I'm not going to be popping that CV axle out and breaking it. So that's what you really want to see in a truck for going off-roading. Now I could even put a higher lift on it, but 2 inches is fine for me. Another benefit I forgot to mention on the Toyota Tacoma, the Tacomas don't come with a rear anti-sway bar. And the reason why that's a benefit is like for the TRD Off-Road and the TRD Pro and the Toyota Trail Edition, I think it's called. These trucks have lockers, and because you're not having a sway bar to keep these wheels from touching the ground, these rears, the Toyota Tacomas, have a great articulation. And with the heavy axle in the rear, you're going to get really good traction. This is the main reason why the Toyota Tacoma does really good off-road, because there's no sway bar in the rear from the factory. And with that rear locker, you get just great traction. And of course, the Toyota Tacomas weigh about 500 pounds less than the other trucks. So all those combined is what makes the Tacoma a really good off-road truck. Well, that wraps it up for this episode. If you like what I'm doing here, please subscribe, and I'm trying to give you all the information you need to choose a great off-roading truck. And like I said, this episode was about the off-road trucks, not about the Wranglers or the Ford Bronco, those class of vehicles. So we'll see you next episode.